Officially welcoming you to the AMATYC 2013 webinar series, and today's presentation will be Focus, a Model Mathematics Co-Requisite Program, and our presenter today is Dr. Selena Mireles, and this presentation is being sponsored by the Developmental Mathematics Committee of AMATYC, and our core values here at AMATYC are building expertise and exhibiting leadership in the teaching and learning of mathematics, enhancing personal growth, and improving teaching methods and effectiveness as a personally initiated lifelong responsibility. And for more information, you can visit our website at amatyc.org. And please note that the views expressed by the presenter today are not necessarily the views of AMATYC, and any commercial products mentioned by the presenters are not endorsed by AMATYC. And so we're going to pause real quickly so that I can switch over to the presenter slides. So if you see the slides disappear off of your screen for a second, that's why. Alright, so I have them preloaded right here. And so let's turn it over to our presenter, and the slides should be on your screen right now. And so if you would like to, you can just arrow through using the arrows at the bottom of the screen when it's appropriate time. So let's all welcome Dr. Mireles again in the chat room here if you haven't already, and I'll turn it over to you right now.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm very excited to have this opportunity to share with you information about the Focus program. And I want to mention to you that I'm not alone. Some of the individuals that are on listed as participants are actually currently doing the Focus program at their campus. I think I see Yvette Chuka is here from El Paso Community College, as well as I think I saw Laura Villarreal on here as well. And we hope to have an opportunity for them to chime in regarding their experiences as promised in our information about the webinar. So I want to begin by talking to you about what we're going to do today and what we're going to talk about. So here's our general agenda. We're going to talk about who the focus student is, what the focus model is, and evidence of success. And we'll culminate by discussing what I like to call the focus pillars. And throughout the PowerPoint, you'll notice actual pictures of individuals engaged in the actual focus classes. And from time to time, I'll mention to you some of their stories just to provide some oh, it says, if you can let me know in the chat that you can hear everything. Okay. Oh, that's you, John. Okay. So if so you can hear a little bit about the stories and the impact, the meaningful impact that the program has had on many lives, whether it be teachers or students or what have you. So as an example of that, you'll notice over here on the right-hand side, there's an individual. He looks to be at a teaching pulpit. His name is Paula Anderson. He's actually from Brownsville, Texas, which is in the lower Rio Grande Valley in Texas. He's a veteran. He served in the military. He came back to school, and he, because of his veteran status, he ended up having to start over and take developmental math classes, and he learned about the Focus program. He enrolled in the Focus program. He was very successful. He actually was doing his undergraduate at the time in weaving, fibers and weaving, I think it was. And then he loved the program so much and wanted to give back that he actually decided to go back to school, work on his master's degree, and he's doing math education as his master's degree. So just to give you some insight. Okay. So who is the focus student? The focus student is, oops, can't get past, not seeing the charts. Just a second. Oh, that went too far. Okay, I'm not seeing the charts on my PowerPoint. Let me see if I... Yeah, it should be this slide 4. There should be some charts on here. Let me see. 4 and 5 don't seem to have my charts. Just a second. There's an... Okay. Well, I'll tell you about what they say. So let's go back to number 4, even though you can't see them, and we'll see if we can find them. But basically, I wanted to give you some idea of the focus students that we've touched here at Texas State. In general, we have found that the majority of the students tend to be female. It's not because that's what we purposely have recruited, but it's just the demographics, just to sort of contextualize what the program looks like here. And at our institution, we've also found that about 39% of the students are of an ethnic minority. We have 25% Hispanic and 14% African American, and still at just a general category, we have 46% that are white. That's what this slide was showing you, just so you get some context on the demographics. Oops, someone's hopping on.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's me. I was going to try to get your chart up here while you're talking about it.
Okay. Okay. Should I move on?
Yes, you can move on talking about the next chart, and I'll try to get up on the screen while you're talking about it.
Okay. So the next couple of charts that you can't see yet are, again, more demographic information about what the focus students come to the table with. At our institution, we have 2 developmental math classes, and I know some institutions can have up to 4, maybe even more if you count some of the pre-developmental math classes. So at our institution, we have 2. And one of the measures that we use to determine success of the program is looking at a standardized exam. We actually use a Texas-based one called a THEA, but we could just as easily use something else like the AccuPlacer or the Compass. But we chose to use the THEA, which is the Texas Higher Education Assessment, and that's actually currently changing so that it's more aligned to the Texas College and Career Readiness Standards, which I notice there's a lot of people from other places, not necessarily in Texas, is very likened to the Common Core. So you'll see a lot of relevance there, nothing really major other than the names, that the same spirit exists. So we find that 85% of the students that have enrolled in the Focus program have taken a developmental math course prior to Focus and failed. So we're looking for people that have already spun into some type of fail cycle, and unfortunately, this is the type of student that this program tends to work better for. Of the 85% of the students that have taken a developmental math course prior to Focus and failed, we have about a quarter of these that had taken either our level 1 or 2 of the developmental math sequence 2 to 4 times. So not only do we have them failing, but they've been failing repeatedly. And using the TSI, or the Texas Success Initiative, which again I mentioned to you is the THEA as the assessment that we use, when we pre-test them, we have found that on average they have a THEA score of 211. And to frame that, the state cutoff for being deemed college ready is a 230. So on average, students enter the program with a THEA score of 211, and that compares to 230 at the state level. A little caveat is at currently, like I mentioned, we're about to change this legislation and different initiatives underway. But currently, the way it works in Texas is different institutions can utilize a different cutoff score. So although the state requires a cutoff of 230 as being deemed college ready, the Texas State University, our particular university, has a cutoff of 270. So there's a difference there in people who, by law, in terms of state, may be considered college ready, but not necessarily college ready here at Texas State. All right, and if we get these slides up and running, then we can always come back to them and I can clarify what I just said. Let me see if I can now go to the focus model, if that's okay with you, John.
Yes, that's fine. I'll move this one out of the way while we're waiting here.
Okay, so I like to envision the focus model as basically the three-legged stool. The base or the seat of the stool is actually the credit-bearing course, and at our institution, we actually have 3 courses that that we are posing forward as a credit-bearing course. We have the traditional college algebra. We have a contemporary math class. And just so you'll know, before I forget, Laura Villarreal at Texas Southmost College is actually replicating this, the contemporary math focus band at her institution. And we have a 3rd credit-bearing course that is new to the catalog of courses, and it's College Statistics and Algebra. This is a new course that was developed by Dr. Terry Westbrook. It is basically incorporates the algebraic student learning outcomes that are pretty common and prevalent in a traditional college algebra, but really enhances and utilizes statistics to accentuate what those ideas are. One of the reasons that we decided to create this course was to really satisfy individuals who were maybe had taken statistics at a community college or had taken statistics because it satisfied their math requirement, but when they come to Texas State, it doesn't satisfy what we call their general education course. So they still need to go back and take a math class that satisfies the general education course requirement, and consequently, this course came to be as a result of that. We have also developed relationships with other departments across the university that require a statistics component, like, for example, sociology, psychology, criminal justice, and they have all supported the adoption of this course. And as a result of our funding from Complete College America, we're underway having discussions with our coordinating board so that this becomes part of the academic course guide for the state of Texas. In any event, that takes care of the seat of the stool, and you'll notice that at the rim of the stool is what we call research-based best practices. So everything that we do, everything that we are a proponent of, we do with that incorporated into it. So we utilize cooperative learning, we use a diverse type of questioning skills, we do Socratic questioning, we're very student-centered. So all of those things are very pervasive, which is why you see that there. But the 3 legs that this course stands on consist of what we like to call learning support. And this is a mathematics-specific piece. This is a new aspect. I would like to say that it is joining the ranks of things like supplemental instruction and the workshop model. This is another way to see and feel and experience the mathematics that is coming to light in the credit-bearing course, and also the second leg of the stool, the developmental math class. Now, you'll notice that we specifically wrote developmental mathematics in one of the legs of the stools, and the reason behind that is because a minute ago I mentioned to you that at Texas State we have 2 levels of developmental math, and I didn't even tell you the numbers because it's not important. You have your own numbers or maybe the same numbers, but that's neither here nor there. But what's important to note here is that the focus model utilizes a developmental math class that is neither one of those 2 courses in our particular case. It is the developmental math that's needed to support the credit-bearing course in a just-in-time way. And again, it's also aligned to our college and career readiness standards, or you could say your Common Core for that matter. The other leg is this academic support services, and to steal a term that one of our coordinating board friends mentioned, these are what we like to call wraparound services. This is the idea of mentoring, counseling, anything like that. Excuse me. These are also include college going and success workshops. It's an opportunity to really think about helping the students become a better college student. And if you notice on this next slide, I elaborate a little bit more on this 3-legged stool. So how this is actually developed and what this looks like from the course perspective. Well, I'm going to stop right there and correct myself. I just said from the course perspective, but what I really mean is from the program perspective. So one of the things that is important to note is that the focus program is really a program. It's not necessarily just a linking or bridging of 2 particular courses or 3 particular courses if you count learning support. It is the idea of a more holistic approach to accomplishing a credit-bearing course. So on here you'll notice that I've listed some of I listed the academic course guide and the department criteria, and that we use a backwards design to determine what those student learning outcomes for the credit-bearing course are going to be. That's extremely important, that we don't lose any rigor in what those student learning outcomes are, and that we do all the things that we need to do as they would be in a traditional college algebra course that wouldn't necessarily be a focus course. In here, in this gray area, you'll see the cooperative learning and some of the other techniques that we utilize that represent what I was talking about in terms of the research-based best practices. And then I want to take an opportunity to elaborate on this, the 3 specific legs of the stool. In particular, I want to elaborate on the learning support. And this is an opportunity for us to really provide students with a real-world experience to contextualize the abstract ideas that they're investigating in the credit-bearing course and the developmental math. We use a lot of cultural relevance. We use a lot of technology. We have some really cool manifestations of the mathematics that students have really found very appealing. We do use, well, let me stop and tell you that we're very much a work in progress. We've developed a lot of these lessons, but we're always open to new ideas. For example, one of the most popular learning supports that's spreading like fire through Texas is the spicy Shane, and maybe Yvette will speak to that a little bit later. But this particular lesson came to be based on one of our instructor's ideas, and his name is Shane Lowe. And it's been wonderful. It's an opportunity to really utilize the mathematics. Another one of our colleagues who's not on here, Chris Chapa, he really took an idea that we one time said off the cuff regarding the Angry Birds and parabolas, and he developed a learning support based on that. So it's a very fun opportunity to really see the mathematics and experience it. The developmental math piece is again, just want to emphasize it's really done in a just-in-time way. That's first and foremost. What is the mathematics that we need to set up students to be successful in the credit-bearing piece? And then we're also aligned to the standard.
And actually, let me cut in and say that this might be a good time to go back and show the slides again, with the diagrams now and the charts in case somebody wants to ask a question about the charts and the diagrams. So if you could arrow back,
and then again, you'll see the academic support, the mentoring, advising, counseling, workshops, engaging in outreach, and overall, all these things are things to build community in terms of what the program brings to the table. I'm going to stop really quickly and see if anyone has any questions before I move to talking about evidence of success. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so I will take a minute while the questions may be coming in. So these are just two charts that are describing the demographics, and again, this is so that I can frame some of the successes and evidence of success that are coming up later. So I wanted to make sure that you had an idea of the kind of student that we were talking about. And then the next one is a graphical representation of the students in terms of their assessment, their pretest. And just to remind you, on the bottom right corner, the average TSI score. The TSI is the Texas Success Initiative. Say that 20 times fast. And that is likened to Acuplacer Compass. It's a measurement, a state-mandated measurement, and we call it THEA. And the state cutoff is 230, and we see our students entering with an average of 211. And on the top left corner, the repeated developmental math. This is very profound. The note here is that 85% of the students have taken developmental mathematics prior to entering the focus program and failed. And of that 85%, we see about a quarter of these that have taken either level 1 or 2 to 4 times and failed. All right, so I see a question. How many credits do the courses represent? Well, the total is 6 hours. The 3 hours for developmental math and 3 hours for the credit-bearing class. Why did our school decide to go with a cutoff score of 270 instead of 230? That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. Some committee must have pulled it together. And also the other thing is that we have, right now, we have developmental reading and developmental writing in addition to developmental math. And so it may have been a push from one of the other disciplines to be consistent. The TSI score is, TSI stands for Texas Success Initiative, And this particular measure that you're seeing, the actual assessment, is THEA, which stands for Texas Higher Education Assessment. And it's more like Compass, Accuplacer. It's just something that's Texas-based. How do you determine which students take the focus classes? Okay, the focus, we have an application process for the focus classes, but so we screen those, and we have found through the years, and we've been doing this since 2008, we have found through the years that the people that tend to be most successful are students that are highly motivated by repeated failing, unfortunately. We're on a semester system, and the courses, the duration of the developmental courses and the focus classes, they develop in the long semester. Ooh, lots of questions. Okay, in the long semester, the developmental math part is on, let's say, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and the credit-bearing class is on Tuesday, Thursday. But we have found that the focus program probably is at its optimal success when it happens in the summer, so that students have an opportunity to totally immerse themselves in the program. We still do offer 2 levels of developmental math. We have our regular traditional developmental math program, but we have last year, for example, 6 of our sections for developmental math were closed because a lot of those students opted to do focus instead. Okay. I see a pause in the question, so I'll go ahead and get back to evidence of success, if that's okay with everybody. So this is one of the things I think we're the most proud of in regards to what the focus program can really do for your students and your program. We have found, and what this particular chart is showing is data collected over 4 terms, summer 2008, 2010, 2011, and spring 2012. As I mentioned earlier, we have replication sites across the state of Texas, and I'm happy to report that for the most part we see the same type of results. And yes, this is, I'm telling you, it's not a typo, but we have 90% of our students that go through the focus program get a D or better in the credit-bearing class, and 84% get a C or better. And we use, as we're doing this in replication, we're using the same type of exams, so we're seeing these pretty unified. It's not that one instructor really feels that this is being done. You know, they're choosing to show successes of the class by inflating grades or anything like that. That's not the case. So just to help frame this particular information, I want to tell you that according to the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board accountability data for 2007, 73% of those who test into developmental math attempt college algebra. And of those, only about 70% of that, so only about 70% complete college algebra with a C or better. And the overall college algebra success rate at Texas State for students who initially test into developmental math is just over 51%. So these types of results are fantastic. And I also want to remind you that about half of these students had taken developmental math before at least one time and had failed. So this is fabulous. Okay, and I see a question. Let me see. Yes, so what are the grades in non-focus algebra classes? I think I answered that. Okay, if I didn't, I'll come back to it again if you feel I still need to answer that better, Jennifer. Okay, so these are grade outcomes. What about going back to the post-test for the THEA? So remember that the state cutoff is 230 and program entry is 211. And we have seen program completion at an average of 232. Now, you might say, well, how does that compare to the 270? Well, keep in mind, by this time, this test doesn't have the same type of high stakes as it did before they ever entered the focus program. So it's really hard to see the kinds of gains that we want. But in any event, if you were just to compare pre to post, you see statistically significant gains. All right, what happens after focus? Another sign of success. Well, most of the focus students completing college algebra, about over 80%, a little over 80%, don't go on to take a class. But of those who have, 68% earn a C or better, and 82% a D or better. So we're seeing more and more people now going on. Most of the time, these are terminal classes for students. Keep in mind, they hate math. They don't want anything to do with it. They see this as being a barrier to their certificate completion or to their diploma. And now they've done this. But one of the other things that you won't necessarily see a slide of, but I'll mention it at this time, is one of the outcomes that we were not looking for, but we've seen, is now we have about 20% of the students who have been through the focus program change their major or their minor to math, just like you saw in Paulo's story. And Pete's email. Okay, I got to look at this in just a second. I'm sorry that someone else passed me something. So we've seen also more shifts to STEM majors. And again, these were people who hated math. One of the other measures that I didn't include in here, but we do have, and you'll see in the sheet that I gave you before, is, or that I will give you at the end, is, let me find it. Well, I'll save it actually. I just wanted to let you know that we're seeing more people shift and take math after they're done with focus, and that those people who do shift and take math, we have 68% earn a C or better and 82% earn a D or better. Oops. Oh, okay. Yeah, so here are some of the data that, thank you for putting this up, John. So you'll see THEA, which is the pre-post that we've seen. We see the course grades over here on the right-hand side of outputs. We also use LASSI, and that's the Learning and Study Strategies Inventory. We've seen statistically significant gains on all 10 subscales. And we do math anxiety, that we use the MARS. So all of those things have shown phenomenal results. Can we switch back? Thank you. Okay, I see a couple of questions coming in, but let me finish this one slide and then I'll pause for some questions. So what about persistence and graduation? Well, as of May 2012, which is when I last captured this data, I have to go back and update it, we've seen 60% of the students still enrolled and 31% actually graduate. Again, great outcomes for students that started this way. All right, let me answer some of these questions. what is the control group? How do we know that focus is what is making the difference? Okay, so the question about the control group is a good question. One of the things that that I'm actually trying to pinpoint a little better now is what actually would be considered a control group. Since the program contains developmental math and credit-bearing class at the same time, you can't necessarily compare it to one of those as a control group because of the fact that it's different. So we do have some control groups that we've had scattered throughout the state of Texas at different lead institutions, and we still see the comparison where they take the same test, they take the same pre-test and post-test, and we've seen statistically significant gains when we run ANCOVAs on that information. I didn't include that in here, but again, what's more interesting is what should constitute an actual control group and how do we measure that? And how do we know that focus is what is making the difference? Well, it is the intervention, it's the sole intervention. There isn't anything else that's going on. Again, I think a better question is going to be what particular aspects of focus tend to be the components that are non-negotiables. And as we hear from other institutions, you'll hear them say maybe one thing works better at their institution than the other. But we do know the triangulation, the stool, that really is that programmatic perspective really tends to provide the most optimal results. What is the number of students in this program? That varies, but the data that I've been sharing with you is over 125 students, and each of the replication sites have utilized or were to serve on average about 200 students. What are your 2 levels of Dev Math? Basic Math, Beginning Algebra, Intermediate Algebra. Our 2 levels of Dev Math, one of them is more basic math, and the other one is more like the intermediate algebra. But we align, even our traditional developmental math program is aligned to the college and career readiness standards. So even though we have an algebraic frame, we still branch to other ideas like geometry, measurement, probability, and statistics. Any other questions while I pause?
Yes, if you want to actually let me know somehow that you want me to enable your mic, I can enable your mic on my end. Just let me know that you need it enabled.
Okay. So just some ideas again, some student testimonials.
Okay, so Yvette, your mic should be enabled, and if you don't have a
people always get a kick out of that bottom left one that the professors are working just as hard as we are. And at this time, I want to see if
mic as well.
If we can hear from
Laura. Can you hear me?
Any of our replication site institutions.
This is Yvette. Okay, so I'm glad you could hear me. So basically, I just wanted to say that the biggest thing that has come out of the focus program at El Paso Community College is that.
Okay, Yvette, you want to go first?
We've actually have to work really close together, and the students really see that the instructors are working together, and they really are encouraged by that because they feel that they can go to any one of us to really help them. And just the support that Dr. Mirales was talking about, our students have tutoring at first. They're resistant. They actually will say, do I really have to do 2 hours of tutoring per week? And we say, yes, you have to do that. And at the end, that's one of the things that they really highlight that they really enjoyed was that they had tutors in the classroom, but also that they can go to the tutor
Yvette, are you
before
there?
class or after class. And here at El Paso Community College, we also have on Sunday nights we have online tutoring, so our students can also log in. But one of the things they mention
Yes.
is that they really like that the tutor knows exactly what's going on in class, so that when they go for help, the tutor doesn't
Hi,
spend time,
Yvette.
you know, reviewing things before that they can get the actual help. And just the sense of community that the students form together is very impacting because they feel like they're in it together. They start to hate the program sometimes throughout the semester because of the requirements that we have for them. But at the end, they really feel accomplished, and that's actually a comment from one of the students. Is we asked them, well, what's your overall experience with the program? How do you feel now that you've finished the program? And they just really, the student said, I feel accomplished. Never thought I could do one math class, let alone two math classes. And so that's been really encouraging. The success rates here have been in the 70s, high 70s for taking both classes. During the summer, it was at 76% success rate. And our summer class was actually an 8-week class. And our regular 13-14, which is our college or pre-calculus class, those success rates for the college during the summer are at about an 80. So these students were at about a 76, and they were taking two math classes. And our regular pre-calculus class is actually 10 weeks long. So they were in an 8-week class, and they did about the same. And so so far we've had good results. And I did have something to show, but I don't think that you guys got it on time to display it. But um, anyway, so I just really like the community that it forms, not just with the students, but also with the institution as a whole, with the instructors and the mentors and the tutoring. All of that comes into place, and the overall goal is to help these students complete their courses when they haven't in the past. I guess that I'll stop at that.
Yes, hello. My name is Laura. I'm from the University of Texas at Brownsville, and we are piloting two groups. We have the college algebra with the developmental math, and we have the contemporary math with the developmental math also. Our classes are small, between 20 and 25, and what we like to do is we block the registration for the students, and it kind of becomes a problem when I have to register each student at a time. But I want to make sure that I look at them in the eye and I tell them that they're registering for two math classes. And we have the built-in tutoring learning support hour. And I have that blocked on their schedule so that it is mandatory. The first semester I didn't do this, and then they would tell me, oh, I have to go to another class or I have to go to work. This way they are committed to that hour and a half or 3 hours a week mandatory tutoring, or what we call the learning support component. So I register them. It's block registration. They have the built-in tutoring. And what's important to note is that I like to call it team teaching. The teachers have to be willing to collaborate, and that takes time. I don't like it when our advisors use the word fast track. It's not a fast track course. The two courses are taught together, and I tell the students that it really is like one class. They have to attend all 5 days a week. And so I like for most people to understand the word team teaching. Not that the teacher has to be willing to attend or collaborate with the other teacher. Sometimes one instructor visits the other instructor, or they sit and compare notes, and they help each other with their topics. So that's real important. The disadvantages or the troubles that we have had are the time. The students say, oh, it's 5 days a week. I had an advisor call me one time, and he told me you would get so many more students if you would shorten the time.
I see your mic is
I
enabled.
said, but they don't understand. They're taking 2 classes. It's 2 math classes. And so the tutoring is important. So they come 5-6 hours a week. And sometimes they stay even longer if they need to, or they do have a tutor. So we have to pay the instructor for that additional learning support time. So the class is a little bit more expensive that way, but the pass rate is a lot higher. Our pass rate for our developmentals is in the 30s and 40s. And so in this class, while it is a small class, I do understand that part, is in the 80s. And so there's a big difference. But the way I see it is they're spending a lot more time. They're spending the 5 days a week in class with additional tutoring, with an additional tutor, and so the success rate is a lot higher. So those are the main things I wanted to bring up.
Thank you, Laura. I appreciate it. Okay, I see a few questions, and I think our South Texas College person wasn't able to join us, so so we have Laura and Yvette. I'm going to answer a few questions before we move on, and if you have questions for either Yvette or Laura, ask those as well. But I'm going to go back up to, are both types of students enrolled in the same credit-bearing class? And the answer to that is yes. It's one cohort that's enrolled in developmental math and the credit-bearing class, and it's and the focus classes or the focus program is restricted to only students that are engaged in the whole program. They can't do one part versus the other. Could you provide more specific information regarding program design, logistics, student expectations, and requirements? Yes, I can. I'm going to jump in a minute to a slide where we're actually having a workshop here on campus on March 7th and 8th. And for those of you who are in Texas, you should contact Terry Daniels from the coordinating board for more information. She may even have some money for you if you're interested in coming. And for those of you who are not in Texas, you can let me know. I can probably put you in touch with somebody from Complete College America that is helping people across the nation in adopting the Focus program. I can't say that they'll have the money for sure, but I can at least help you ask. And then how many non-traditional students go through our program? Well, in our particular campus, there's quite a few because our campus is known for non-traditional students, especially veterans. We have a significant amount of students that have served the armed forces. I don't have those numbers right in front of me, but I do keep track of that information. And I also keep track of as much as I can regarding other demographics like SES and race and what year they are in college, what their majors are, etc. Just in time as it relates to the linking of the college level course. Well, the just in time facet is that, let's say, for example, in the credit bearing class, you're talking about linear functions. Then in the developmental math part, you'll be talking about linear equations and expressions and those particular ideas that would be necessary to succeed in whatever the credit bearing class is. And we could do a whole other day on how that works, but that's just to give you an idea of what that means. Fast track. Yeah, yes, it can be, and maybe Laura wants to speak to that, the comment about the fast track and seeing that as an advantage to the students. But I think maybe what Laura is saying here is that they're making the student, by telling the advisors telling the students that it's a fast track, may mean that there's not as much time being spent, but there really needs to be a lot more time spent. Laura, you want to say anything about that? Yes. Well, to me it does. What if the student has not heard of the just-in-time topic? Well, you may recall that at the rim of the three-legged stool, we had this idea of these best practices, and one of the things that we find ourselves really relying on is this model that we borrow from math disabilities, which is moving from concrete to representational and then to abstract. So even though it may seem like the topic ultimately is a little more higher level, we actually still build the concept from the bottom up, and we build it for deep understanding and conceptual understanding. So whereas maybe some students, a random student in the hall, if I stopped and asked her, what do you know about absolute value, the first thing that they may say would be something like, the value is always positive. That's what I know. A focus student would respond in terms of something related to distance, that it's a way to capture to calculate distance. So that's how we address that. And again, this hour time is really insufficient to really get down and dirty with those specifics, but I'm just trying to give you an idea. I think this is still the dialogue with Philip about the fast track. Yeah, I think I agree with Philip on that one. It's just meaning for the student on what they're being told. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead as we end, as we're getting close to our session, just tell you about the pillars and some of the things that really characterize what the focus program brings to the table and what it means.
And I'm actually going
it is providing
to
a sense of
put
immediacy. The students
files
are
over
able
here
to
in the upper
enroll in a credit-bearing class
so
without having the obstacle of or unfortunate experience of
you'll be able
failing
to
through
download the file
the developmental math class. They
there
take those
of
things
the
concurrently,
fact
so there's
sheet,
that sense of
before
immediacy.
you all go,
It is
I'm
very
going
intense.
to bring up the
there's an expectation of interaction
the survey
and
link
involvement,
so that all
and
of
is
you will be able
clearly
to
an
get
immersion
credit for attending
in
the webinar,
the
and you'll be able
mathematics
to
that
give
they are
us
doing.
any feedback that
The
you would like to give us
I think
about
John said that this
today's
is going to be
webinar.
recorded.
And
I probably won't
while
have
we
time
wait
to show you
for
this.
the
I see
slides
about
to
3
come
minutes
back up,
left.
if you could
But
please
hop online,
maybe
hop on
download
our
the
website.
focus
You'll also see
fact
some
sheet from your
interviews
screen,
with different
and if you
students.
can't get to download,
John
just
Bailey
say
is
so
one
in
of
the chat,
our
and we'll try to make sure
success
that we get it
stories.
to you
I think he
right
actually
away.
went viral
But
in
again,
Georgia.
thanks
I was in
for
Georgia a few months ago, and
participating in
I showed
today's
this
AMATYC
video, and
webinar.
I think
So
it got
we
passed
could
around.
all
And he's okay with it. He said he wouldn't mind even coming out in Good Morning America.
That would be great.
But he's a
And
great
if you'd like
success
to
story.
support
I
future AMATYC
recommend you hopping
webinars,
online
please
and
consider
watching the
becoming a member
video,
of
his
AMATYC
and
if
some
you
of
are
the
not
other
already
interviews.
at the link on your screen,
And
amatyc.org/join.
let's see.
Hyphen AMATYC.
Just our contact information if you want some more information, or if you're interested.
Remember to
that's on there
like
as well.
on Facebook
And I'm more than happy to have a discussion with you. We've done different things for different people. In Louisiana, for example, we did a series of mini webinars as they're thinking about this particular co-requisite model.
Today's webinar,
and then I also wanted to remind you this and one more thing, that on March 7th and 8th we are having a workshop here at Texas State. We have a really nice park, and the shopping malls, the outlet malls are here. I mean, even Oprah's talked about them, so it's worth coming in addition to learning more about the focus program.
That would be great. And again, if you need email confirmation of your participation in this webinar today, just please, in the optional section at the end of the evaluation, just enter your email address and we'll make sure to get that to you. So again, we're going